Good evening. The League of Women Voters of the Hamptons, Shelter Island, and the North Fork is pleased to be sponsoring this evening's debate between Raheem Soto and Ann Welker, the candidates running for Suffolk County Legislator from Suffolk County Legislative District Number 2. I'm Estelle Gelman from the League of Women Voters of the Hamptons, Shelter Island, and the North Fork, and I will be moderating this debate. The other member of the league, whom you will see on screen, is Eileen Mercer, who is going to be our timer. Others in the league involved with bringing you this debate are Arlene Hinkemeyer, who is our publicity chairperson and serves as liaison with CTV, Neil Cohn, who is chair of our Voter Services Committee, and Stephanie Snyder, who is the shadow and backup for this debate. Our thanks go to all those who contributed questions for the debate, and a very special thanks to the staff at CTV, whose technical support has made it possible to view this debate on YouTube. We also thank the candidates, and we thank you for watching. Just a quick word about who we are. The League of Women Voters is a political but nonpartisan national organization. While we never endorse parties or candidates, we do take positions on issues affecting our community. Foremost among our goals is to educate voters, stimulate voter interest, and encourage voter participation. We are respected for sponsoring fair and impartial candidate debates, such as this one, and for the educational materials we distribute on voting issues. Now, to move on to the ground rules for the debate. Since we don't have a live audience before us, the questions were all submitted in advance by community and league members and have been vetted to ensure that they are appropriate for this debate. Each candidate will have up to 2 minutes for an opening statement, up to 2 minutes to respond to each question, and 1 minute for a closing statement. In addition, each candidate will have the opportunity for 3 one-minute rebuttals to each of his or her opponent's responses. The candidates will speak in alphabetical order, and Raheem Soto will give his opening statement first. He will also answer the first question first, after which the first response to each question will be rotated between the candidates. Regardless of where we are in the rotation, Ann Welker will give her closing statement first. The candidates will now give their opening statements. Raheem?
Hello, good evening, everyone, and thank you to the League of Women Voters and CTV for putting this debate on. And I would like to thank everyone for watching. Thank you for everyone in the town that is civically engaged. And I love what the League of Women Voters stands for. Voter engagement is important. Civic engagement is important. As you stated, my name is Raheem Soto. I live in East Quogue. I've been here coming up on 20 years. I have 6 children, my youngest of which is raised here. His whole life, and loves this town. My wife's family's been here for multiple generations. And the reason I'm running is because I understand what the job of a legislator is to do. And we have some unique issues on the East End. We have some unique issues that, my background in civic engagement and getting people involved in politics. I spent time professionally as a policy analyst. Currently, I publish a newspaper where I do report on what's going on in the county and legislation and et cetera. And I'm honored to be here this evening. I'm no stranger to hard work, and I've been behind the scenes for the last few election cycles, helping other candidates like Rick Martell and some of our other council members get elected. So I understand what's going on here in the town. I'm very aware of what the issues are, and I look forward to going through this debate and answering your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ann?
Good evening. So nice to see everyone here this evening. Thank you to the League of Women Voters, and also thank you to my opponent, Mr. Soto. My name is Ann Welker. I am the Suffolk County Legislator for the 2nd District. The 2nd District runs from Montauk Point to just about Mauritius Inlet. It includes the village of West Hampton Dunes, but not Cupsog County Park. It has approximately 60 miles of oceanfront shoreline. We really are the canary in the coal mine when it comes to so many things on Long Island, and particularly in the eastern part of Suffolk County. This is my 5th election. I previously served as a Southampton Town trustee, and I was the first woman elected to that board since 1686. I am proud now to have served, I am serving my first term as Suffolk County legislator. I sit on 5 committees: Environment, Parks and Agriculture, Health, Veterans, Ways and Means, and Public Works, Energy, and Transportation. I also served on the Capital Budget Working Group, and I also was appointed by the legislature to serve on the Suffolk County Water Quality Restoration Fund Board of Trustees. I'm endorsed by the New York League of Conservation Voters, by the Sierra Club of Long Island, and I'm honored to be endorsed by the Suffolk County Law Enforcement Coalition, which includes the Suffolk County PBA. Thank you so much for hosting this debate this evening.
Thank you. We will start with the questions now, and Rahim, you will be the first to answer the first question. Traffic is a big issue on the East End. What can the legislature do to provide more mass transit options, including improved bus service and more Long Island Railroad trains that not only serve the workers who would use the trains if they were better coordinated with the workday, but also address the summer rush to and from the city?
Thank you for the
Rahim?
question. Yes, thank you for the question. So, my view is that every hour lost in traffic on County Road 39 is a tax on working families. And simply, it's paid in gas, it's paid in car repairs, it's paid in missed time with children, it's paid in inconvenience, and congestion raises the cost of living. So we know that. I think we've begun to see some testing done there. I think we need targeted fixes. I think the reality of the traffic there is that we're going to have to look at really changing how it's built. We really have to face the facts that, you know, from the information released in the most recent studies that are done on 39 and what we're looking at, and we're waiting for more data to come in from the recent testing. I think these are going to be band-aids at the most, if we're being honest with the voters. You know, adjusting traffic patterns and lights on and off. We're really going to have to look at a major overhaul of 39 for it to become a productive and less of an inconvenience. So, you know, that's what the county can do. I would advocate for that. I feel that we, you know, with our investment into the county, that we should be able to just, like I said, be honest with the voters, and we need a major overhaul of 39. I mean, we can do all the studies we want, but we're going to essentially come to that point where it's going to have to be done because the volume is going to increase. And that volume, as we try to keep a community sustained, we have to have people work. We have to have people earn a living. And, you know, the term the trade parade sometimes bothers me because it's not a game. This is people's livelihood. I don't really like that term, the trade parade. These are hardworking people trying to earn a living. It's not a sideshow, in my opinion. So I think the county can do a better job of getting resources here and being honest with the voters that this is going to take a major overhaul. We can adjust lights. We can talk about, you know, circles and things of this nature, but it's going to be a major overhaul of 39 for it to be relieved, to be honest, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Anne?
Thank you. One thing that is helping now is getting cars off the road. County Road 39, depending on the time of year, in the winter months when there are less landscapers, less pool companies on the road, those numbers are around 30,000 cars per day. In the summer months, the numbers bloom up into about 50,000 cars per day, which is overwhelming. So looking at the South Fork commuter connection, which was initiated by Fred Thiel, has been very impactful in getting cars off the road. The challenges with it are there are not enough trains and there are not enough cars on the train. The MTA 5-year capital budget includes funding for platforms and other things that are needed in order to have there be more trains. So that's one thing that's coming towards us, which is super great. Another, Suffolk County runs both the fixed bus route, which goes from Orient Point to East Hampton train station. It also runs on demand. The on demand buses are the small buses that travel between Southampton College, Sag Harbor Village, and Southampton Village. Those buses are $2.25 a ride. They're super affordable and super accessible. The County Road 39 challenges, it's set between two New York State roads where County Road 39 ends. So thank you.
Thank you. And Anne, you're going to be the first on the next question also. We have been experiencing heavier rainfalls and flash flooding on county roads. What should the legislature do to mitigate this increasingly dangerous problem?
So, one of the capital projects that is happening right now actually is a maintenance project on County Road 39. Some of you have probably noticed the night work. That project includes repairs to curbing, but it also has included drainage. And that's an important part of trying to deal with heavy rainfalls. So the road is being resurfaced, but the drainage is being addressed. And that's the drainage is part of every county road update. Another project that's coming down the pike in the next year and a half or so is County Road 38, which is North Sea Road. There's some flooding there that's problematic, especially near the ambulance barn. And that will be addressed. Not only the town has done some work with the highway department on some of the side roads, but on the county road itself, drainage is there are going to be an increased number of drains. We also have to look at where that water is going when it runs off the road. So anything that can be done to mitigate the amount of water that's the stormwater that's going into our surface waters is super important as well. That's being worked on, not so much at the county level on the east end, but with bioswales and other plant-friendly areas that help to absorb the rainfall so that the flooding is mitigated. Thank you.
Thank you. Raheem?
Yeah, so again, the danger in this is what it's doing to our environment. So when we talk about flooding and we talk about runoff, we're talking about our infrastructure again. So this is a major issue across the town, both Southampton and East Hampton, and frankly all of Long Island. This is an issue. I think this comes from years of neglect, in my opinion, and not shoring things up earlier. I think we've kind of waited till things have become a bit of a problem, and now we're trying to address those things. And essentially, we're going to end up in the same place where we have to start talking about what's shovel ready, because we send an exorbitant amount of money to Hop Hog and to the state. So, you know, the time frames of some of these projects are just way too long, in my opinion. And we need to start looking at things that can be done in the short term. And to that end, what are our 1 to 2 year plans for mitigating these things? What are our 3 to 5 year plans? And frankly, what are our 10 to 20 year and beyond plans? Because some of these issues are not going to go away with simple repaving. We're going to start to find out the amount of chemicals that are leaching into our ground from different types of tires and chemicals sprayed on tires, and the danger to our local environment from this type of runoff and this type of flooding. So what I would want to see, you know, if I'm fortunate enough to be elected, is I want to see accountability. I want to see where our tax dollars are going. I want to know where the bottlenecks and getting shovels in the ground, so to speak, so that things aren't taking 3, 5, 7 multiple terms of elected officials to get done. So that's what I would do.
Thank you. And you will be the first for the next question, too. The East End relies heavily on immigrant workers in our workforce. What is your position on allowing ICE agents to pursue these people in our county?
Okay. Well, thank you for the question, and I certainly want to address how the question is framed. I think it's a bit unfair to just say immigrants. There's a difference between someone who's, as my great grandparents did, came here as merchant marines, came here, stood in line, and so many of my friends and family who are second, third, fourth generation Americans. I think it's unfair to frame the question that way. However, I'm not in law enforcement, and I would rely on the expertise of law enforcement who know what they need and what they don't need, and whether that's a good agreement or not. And what I do believe is that immigrants, everyone here, you know, most of our families that are here are immigrant families. So, you know, I think it's a bit unfair. And to be honest, if we were able to share screens and have a much longer time at doing this, we could look at the wording, which is very important. To my knowledge and to what I understand, ICE is going after the worst first type of scenario. And have there been some hiccups or things in operations with law enforcement? Absolutely. I think we all need to be treated with dignity and respect. Our immigrant population here, they deserve an opportunity at what we all have, the American dream. I don't think it should be unfairly and illegally taken away from them at anybody's whim. I think the law is the law, and we should rely on the law. But I would always defer to what our law enforcement personnel need and want on the ground, and I would support them in any decision they make. Agreement, no agreement, I would rely on law enforcement's expertise in that.
Thank you. Anne?
Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman has allowed ICE agents to work with law enforcement in order to pursue our immigrants. It's most unfortunate. Suffolk County Executive Ed Romaine has not. And I thoroughly support County Exec Romaine's decision in this. Our immigrant population is part of the fabric of not only the East End, but of our region. And they are contributing important members of society. And it's the only time that there might be any situation where ICE agents might be accompanied by the police would be if there were felons or someone that was dangerous to our community. Public safety we are so fortunate to live in safe communities. And if there were situations where the safety was compromised at all, and ICE agents were to be needed to be assisted by police, then I would support it. But otherwise, these are important people in our communities. Our communities are safe, and we want to continue to keep them that way. Thank you.
Thank you. And Anne, you will be next on the next question. Affordable housing for young families, workers, and seniors is an ongoing and growing problem on the East End. How would you propose that the legislator help fund affordable housing?
So we are extremely fortunate in the towns of East Hampton and Southampton to have that are both in the second legislative district to have the community housing fund at the town level. That 0.5% on the transaction on real estate transactions was something that we all voted to approve. And that money now can be used to help us to do matching funds when there's county money available or there are grants that are available. The matching aspect of that, we are so fortunate. The 5 western towns don't have any type of matching funds that are like this, and we're super lucky. The one thing that's being investigated right now is manufactured housing. There is New York State, there's an initiative by New York State to provide manufactured housing at very reasonable rates, and that is being passed through the county. Both East Hampton Town and Southampton Town have expressed interest in these programs. The towns need to have the land available, and then the manufactured housing would be set on those properties. The Commissioner of Economic Development did a little road trip up to Schenectady the other day where the manufactured housing is built, and she was very impressed with the quality, the lead construction, the insulation, and we have many good things to look forward with. Thank you.
Thank you. Rahim?
Do you mind repeating the question? Thank you.
Sure. Um, Affordable housing for young families, workers, and seniors is an ongoing and growing problem for the East End. How would you propose that the legislature help fund affordable housing?
Thank you. So my belief and my view and my research leads me to believe that there are several factors of why things are so expensive. And it's not because we don't care enough, but because regulation makes it that way. I think ADUs, workforce housing, is a lot of this stuff is tied up in building and zoning and a lot of overlapping and overarching bureaucratic steps. So at the county level, I would want to work with streamlining some of these processes for ADUs, streamlining and looking at where we have duplicative process and zoning for builders, and sometimes it's just too much. So property taxes are among the highest in the county, and that's driving people away. So we can't tax and spend our way into affordability. That's just not economically sound policy. However, what we could do, and again, it is my absolute belief with the amount of tax dollars going to the state and going to Albany, that there is a way, whether that be via a tourism investment district or a tourism investment partnership, a way to get more down payment assistance and a way to drive more business to the East End. So a large part of this is more businesses staying here. A large part of this is that I think the idea of people staying here and business are they're kind of at odds, terms that are at odds, and they shouldn't be. We need people to keep a community. If everybody that comes here doesn't live here and everybody's a visitor, what kind of community is that where the only people that come here are the people that are coming to work and they're leaving? No, I understand a big part of what some people I think unfairly say NIMBYism, which again, a term I don't really like because I think those people really care about the character and the quality of their community. So I think we should be judicious in where we're putting ADUs and how many people get to live in a dwelling. And I think we should be judicious about the size of a property. But at a certain point where you're gonna have to pay $2,000 and $3,000 for a one-bedroom apartment, how's the kid gonna go to school and pay for that? How are grandchildren gonna stay here and just take care
Okay,
of the parents? Thank you.
thank you. Okay, Raheem, you're going to go next on the next question also. What more would you like to see the legislature do to address the effects of climate change? In your response, please include your ideas for reducing carbon emissions and whether you would support the addition of more wind farms in our waters or on agriculturally zoned acreage.
Right. Well, I will start with the wind farms. I'm not in favor. And I would love to display the data because there's if for every study that says something good, there's an opposing study. And I think sometimes the discussion about these things are politicized to the point where we get lost about what it's doing to nature and what it's doing to our environment. And is the value of that type of energy and the disruption of the ecology worth that type of energy? In my opinion, it's not. I think we do need to explore all the green energy that's available to us. I am a big. I propose that we have to do a better job of understanding energy production. I think a lot of the conversation is politicized when it shouldn't be, because there are so many great alternatives to just fossil fuels. There's obviously, we have solar power, which is a great thing. There's so many things that we can look at. I just think it needs to be done judiciously. I think again, and this is a consistent theme with me, is that just the value of the East End and what we are. We should be seeing the return on that investment. That is our property tax dollars going west, so we can put again shovel ready projects in the ground, that we can investigate these different types of alternative energy. So I'm not a fan of the turbines. And as far as the climate change is concerned, like I said, there's studies that have impact, and I think we need to look at them carefully and not in a politicized manner. And I think there is a lot of opportunity there for us, especially here on the East End.
Thank you. Anne?
Thank you. So Suffolk County is a New York State climate smart community. It's been designated that for some time. And in order to be designated as a climate smart community, there's quite a rigorous protocol that must be gone through. And Suffolk County has passed that, and we applaud those who worked on that in order to accomplish that goal. If you drive into any of the county buildings, you'll see that there are solar arrays on carports, and that's pretty much in almost every county building. Riverhead at the county center, H. Lee Dennison building in Hauppauge, and several more as well. So that's one thing that we're working. Anything that we can do to use renewable energy, it is so wise, as we are located in a tricky situation. Coastal resiliency. There are 3 projects right now. One at Cupsog, at the county park, that is a marsh restoration project. It will be beginning soon in the next, I don't remember the timeline of it right now. I think it's this winter, but it might be in the spring. Marsh restoration, marsh acts like sponge, and anything we can do to help mitigate flooding by way of marshes is super important. Wind farms are a vitally important part of our future. The ocean is a fabulous place for them. I do disagree with my opponent on that. No, thank you.
Thank you. And you will be the first to answer the next question. The ballot this November will include a proposition that addresses issues created by the adoption of New York's even year election law and increases county legislators' terms from 2 to 4 years. What is your position on this proposition?
So there was a unanimous vote by the legislature to move this proposition forward so that it could be put to the voters. And as it was unanimous, I obviously voted for it. I see both sides. There is a benefit to having 2-year terms in that you stay accountable to the voters because of your need to connect with voters. We begin campaigning pretty much about a year in advance. So we're very connected with our constituents during that time. And so there is benefit to transparency, accountability with the 2-year term. However, with the change in New York State law, we need to run in 2025, in 2026, and in 2028. The extension to a 4-year term, given this predicament, may make some sense. Campaigning takes a great deal of time. It takes a great deal of money at this level. And is it the best use of our time as legislators? So I think that putting it forth to the voters will be, it will be interesting to see. Many people, as I'm encountering them, whether it be at events or as I'm just moving through the community, are discussing it. And it will be interesting to see what comes forward as a result of that. So thank you.
Thank you. Raheem?
Yeah, so the origin of the need for this to even happen is kind of really the issue here, and I think it's necessary that we do have it this way. I do agree that the 2-year term does, keep you on your toes. It has you, it lets you know that you're going to be held accountable fairly quickly, because in the world of government, 24 months is not a lot of time, to be honest, because of just the nature of bureaucracy, which is unfortunate. I don't think it should be that way, because our needs as a community don't like hold up, hurry up and wait, which is how I feel the philosophy of government sometimes is hurry up and wait. So, I think that people will put this, as it's on the ballot, the people will vote the way that they see fit. But I'm in favor of it. I really believe that a lot can be done when you have the desire to do it. So, I'm fully behind that.
Thank you. And Raheem, you will be the first on the next question. Governor Hochul signed a bill that increases the grant to homeowners for replacing aging septic systems with those that reduce nitrogen pollution. What can the county do to encourage more Suffolk County residents to take advantage of this program?
Well, thank you for the question. And I think this is a really a marketing issue. I think the more people know, the more people can be informed, the more people will act. I think we can do a much better job. And I would be a bullhorn for programs that are going to bring relief to our families and to the community. So I think we have to do a better job of educating the community about what's available. We were out the other night, and I happened to mention to someone who said they were looking to buy a home in the county, hard at work. And I said to them, there's available programs through the county you should look into. And their first response was, what? Yeah, there's down payment assistance. There's different type of things that you can look into. And just that people don't know what's available to them. So I think we can do a much better job advocating for these programs, promoting these programs, doing community outreach with these programs. In other words, holding town halls specifically about these programs on a more frequent basis, engaging the internet in a much better way, and the young homeowners that are coming into the community.
Thank you. Anne?
to sit on the Suffolk County Water Quality Restoration Fund Board of Trustees. So this is the committee that was created as a result of all of us voting overwhelmingly, over 70% approval for Proposition 2 last November. And this committee is comprised of 21 members from all different backgrounds. The representatives from the village, one of the villages within Suffolk County, from the town, from the IA systems, from labor. It's a very diverse board, and this is a conversation amongst this board as it's as it's taking its first steps forward. The implementation of this is critically important. We're looking at, thanks to Governor Hochul's initiative, we're looking at an increase of $25,000 for each IA system, and that can be there's money at the county level, and then on the east end, thanks to our Community Preservation Fund with the accompanying water quality portion, there's money at the town level as well. So there's been work done already interfacing with Peconic Estuary Partnership, and they've done 2 community outreach sessions, one in Flanders and one in North Sea the other night, where they're going out and speaking to homeowners and telling them about what's available. The county is making a very strong push to streamline this process. It was a bit cumbersome. It's better now. Thank you.
Thank you. And Anne, you'll be first on the next question. There's a shockingly high rise in shootings on the island, attributable to gang violence. Yet the legislature recently cut $107,000 in funding for nonprofits, many of which serve the youth population, but will possibly spend $48 million on building a youth jail. What do you think the county's priorities should be in dealing with these issues?
So as I said previously, we are so incredibly fortunate to live in a safe community, and it's shocking and frustrating and disappointing to hear of a rise in the number of shootings. The work of our sheriff, our Suffolk County sheriff, to decrease recidivism is amazing. And his work, although there's a state mandate to house more youth populations, that the work of the sheriff to help to educate young people, to get them to help them with the transition from out of jail, to get them education, to get them jobs, to just repurpose their lives so that they can be productive members of society. He is doing an amazing job with that. The legislature, the work of many not-for-profits, I could name a handful, to help with youth is critically important, and I look forward to being able to work on this more. Am I so fortunate to be reelected?
Thank you, Rahim.
So The issue of youth crime is and this is part of the reason I'm running is because here in the town of Southampton, while there's things for our youth to do across the county, there's a lack of youth engagement. There's a lack of having our young people having places to go to congregate. We unfortunately live in a culture where a lot of our teens are glued into their phones and they're glued into what I view as somewhat a destructive online culture that's making them very they have a lot of young people have a very negative outlook on the future, and I blame the media for that. And I think at the county level, I think we can do a much better job providing opportunities for our young people, going into the communities, making the business community, the business owner, the hardworking business owner, just as celebritized as some of their favorite rappers. I think we can do a better job of promoting the positive parts of life in our community and what an honor it is to live in this community. Gun violence, and I have the pleasure of having worked with a lot of young people across Long Island, keeping them out of the system, keeping them on the right track. My son, for example, is involved in the Youth Explorers, and we need more programs like that. We need to steer our children to a better understanding of what law enforcement is. We need to, and like I said, the district attorney's done a great job. The sheriff's done a great job, but so much more can be done with helping. I think this comes from it, and statistics will show that this comes from a lack of fathers in the household. This very dystopic view of the future is because we don't have a lot of positive male and female role models for our children. So as a county legislator, I would want to be engaged with them where they are, which is on the internet, which is on YouTube, which is through various channels and through the forms of entertainment that they're used to. My background is in that field, and so at the end of the day, I know how to engage with them, and I think we need to do more of that.
Thank you. And you will be first on the next question. Besides the Water Quality Protection and Restoration Program, what more should the legislature be doing to prevent the degradation of our drinking water?
So again, and this is going to be a consistent theme for me, and it has been throughout my campaign that our job as government is to build a bridge, right, and to spend taxpayer dollars to build that bridge. But how many people can cross that bridge, and how easily is it for them to cross that bridge? And what's on the other side? So clean drinking water, safe communities, dignity as you age in our community and retire here. That's what should be on the other side of that bridge. And to that effect, we start programs, but I think we have no accountability for where this money goes. In my opinion, it's difficult to track. So one of the things that we can do is continue to promote at a much grander scale, getting these IA systems into the ground, and the legislature is no different than any other political body in so much as that you have to advocate. You have to be a loudmouth. On the East End, it's only two legislators to the other, the other bodies out West. And even though we may be in a majority party, as a Republican, we're still only two legislators on the East End. And so to that effect, I would be a really aggressive advocate for getting our resources and creative ways to get our tax dollars back here. We need more investment into the East End. We're subsidizing a lot of the Western towns, and we need someone that's going to step up and say enough is enough. We need clean drinking water out here. We need septics in the ground. We need, runoff taken care of. We need to get these sewer projects going, and we need to get things going now.
Thank you. Anne?
Long Island, we depend on a sole source aquifer for our drinking water. And there's a situation right now in the town of Southold where it's a critical, their drinking water is in a critical phase. And we've been in a drought situation for quite some time now. Even though we get really heavy rains, we're still in a drought situation. And the encouragement by the water authority to have people do even odd watering is one that while it's difficult to enforce, the more you talk about it, the more that it starts to sink in to some of the residents, so that they'll start to instruct. So they'll start to use that. There was a pilot program with the Riverhead wastewater treatment plant at the Indian Island Golf Course. And that is a water reuse. So the gray water from the Riverhead wastewater treatment plant is pumped out to the Indian Island Golf Course and used for irrigation. That same project now, it was very successful. So that same project now is to be replicated at the Bergen Point wastewater treatment plant in Islip. There is a county-owned golf course next door. So the piping would be very minimal. That's the expensive part of this, but that's going to allow for water reuse. Bergen Point is the largest wastewater treatment plant in the area. Thank you.
Thank you. And Anne, you will be next on the next question. What new industries do you feel the county should be pursuing that would create good jobs?
So we were fortunate to have passed the working waterfront legislation recently at the county level, and that there are approximately 40,000 jobs in the marine industry at this point in Suffolk County, whether that be with commercial fishermen, baymen, aquaculturists, in the recreational boating world, the boat builders, marine mechanics. There's tremendous opportunity there. The preservation of waterfront properties that are specifically for working waterfront, it is going to be an amazing boon for us at this point. The marine industries have approximately a $3 billion, and that's billion, revenue to the county, and that the opportunity now to preserve this working waterfront will allow for this. The blue economy is something that we as Suffolk County residents need to begin to lean into. So that's our ocean economy. So an increase in oyster farms. We are approximately 30 years behind Connecticut, Maine, as far as our aquaculture and as far as our growth of seaweed. So that's something we need. We need processing plants for fish, for fisheries, and also for seaweed. Those will also help us to be able to lift up the amazing opportunities that the working waterfront has presented to us.
Thank you. Rahim?
Yeah, so obviously the blue economy is a very, very big deal on the East End. For our district, tourism is one of the biggest drivers, and we can look at the numbers across the county. But when we really delve into the numbers for what drives our economy here on the East End and our major contribution to the state and the county, it's really our property taxes and our tourism. And so we want to make sure that we can keep that industry thriving, because if people can't drink the water, they won't want to come here. If people can't afford to stay here, people can't work here, then there is no tourism economy. So we have to protect that economy. And at this point, I believe that there are, if not equal, more second homeowners in the town of Southampton. And that's something we need to consider. We need to look and say, okay, what I think the idea of growth, business development, and growth and community character aren't opposed to each other. I just think that there's a process by which we can put businesses here on the East End, attract businesses, yes, in the blue economy and in the technology sector, in the AI sector. We have some of the most beautiful office space on the East End. So, there's an opportunity to bring some of that here. And even at the county level, with what we see going on in New York City, and the county executive telling everybody to come on out to Long Island because we do have plenty of space and because we have a great business environment here. And I think right now our businesses are overregulated, they're overtaxed and underappreciated. So we need to do more to drive business. We need to do more to show our business community appreciate it. And we need the trades for our young people. We need more trades. I think that'll be a great thing for the young people. And then we can turn them into the future workforce here on the East End.
Thank you. All right. You'll be first on the next question.
Sure.
With the closing of the Brookhaven landfill, should the county develop a county-wide plan for garbage removal? And what do you see as the best approach to encourage residents and businesses to reduce waste and increase recycling and composting?
Well, I don't think we have a choice, to be honest. And for me, this comes down to, again, community outreach. And I think a lot of people take for granted what they do with their waste. I think we just throw things in the garbage sometimes and we really don't give it a second thought. So there needs to be a cultural awakening. And we talk about recycling, we talk about composting. And here on the East End, we have beautiful farmland. So I think we can do more to encourage that culture of composting, of recycling. And should the county get involved in rubbish removal? I don't think so. I think the what we need to do is talk about a partnership with private industry and how to best do that. We look at some of the most efficiently ran waste removal companies, and if they're going to use those type of practices, then sure, I would be in favor of a great plan from the county that does it efficiently, that does it at little to no cost to the taxpayer because we're so heavily invested and heavily taxed. So I would be in favor to see a plan for countywide, waste removal, sure. But what does that cost, and what are the trade-offs, and can it be done with money that we already have? Thank you.
Thank you. Anne?
Closing of the Brookhaven landfill is something that's long overdue, but a regional plan for our waste is also something that's long overdue. There is the opportunity here with the closing of the landfill to stop trucking our waste to regions to the west. There's discussion of a glass composting facility, and whether that be a public-private partnership or whether it be something that's done by a municipality or maybe even the county. That's an important conversation. With our wine industry, we generate a lot of glass, and especially with our growing brewery industry, we use a lot of glass. So the recycling of glass is a big conversation, and the keeping it within the county rather than trucking it to the west is vitally important. We at the town level, there are incentives at this point in Southold, in Riverhead, in Southampton. If you go to the landfill, you'll see that food waste is being collected. Food waste is unfortunately the largest amount of waste that we produce, and anything that can be done to reduce, again, that trucking of our waste off Long Island. So composting is, and then the reusing of that compost on our properties is a really good way to look at the future.
Okay. All right, this is going to be our last question, and Anne, you will go first. What other important issues affecting the county that we haven't yet discussed are on your to-do list if elected?
So, the southern pine beetles, the destruction of the southern pine beetles, is something that I've been really focused on. If you drive down the Napeag stretch, you'll see on both sides that there's been considerable damage there. And with the Sunrise wildfires in West Hampton in March, the destruction of because of the southern pine beetles was really brought to a head. There are a great many conversations amongst many levels of government and as well as fire departments as to how to now combat this. The southern pine beetle travels very fast. The infestations kill trees very quickly. So that's something that we've been super focused on. And I will continue to work on that if I am fortunate enough to be elected. The other thing that I've been looking into and starting to learn about is a seafood processing plant. At this point, again, this is the movement of the commercial fishermen. So New York State has the two largest commercial fishing ports, Montauk and Shinnecock. So though when fish is caught, they're put on ice to bring it in on the boats and then transferred to trucks, trucked into the city, processed, and then brought back out. So if we were to have seafood processing on in Suffolk County, that would be an amazing thing for us as we look forward. So those are two things that are really critically important, I think. Thank you.
Thank you. Raheem?
No, thank you. For me, it's going to be helping the working families. It's going to be helping our business owners here. We have to understand that without the revenue that we generate, we can't fix things. We need to continue to generate that revenue, and we need to make life easier for our small businesses, for our mid-sized businesses, and continue to entice businesses that want to come here and continue that what makes our community so special. Something else that I would like to work on is we have an unreasonable amount of missing children, and I think that needs to be a priority. Every time I go into a Walmart and I look up at that wall, it just breaks my heart. And when I see things come across the patch, or like recently here in East Quogue, we had a missing youth that was thankfully found safe. But this is something that I want to work on, and making sure that we have resources for families that may be having issues at home. I think we can do a much better job of taking care of our folks. So I would want to be that representation that has an open door policy, and that really advocates for resources in the form of counseling, in the form of family programs that will help nurture that environment. Again, I want more for our young people to do. I want this to remain a community where people can retire and do that with dignity and start families here. And right now, the affordability is a big deal. I want to make sure that people understand when they hear about the opioid addiction crisis or the opioid crisis, that they understand it's not always people just getting high. Sometimes it's people that took too much of their medication. They couldn't see the label. So a lot more education. I want to continue to support what great organizations are doing and promoting education about opiates, opiate use, drug abuse, and et cetera. So, affordability, safety, continuing to support law enforcement, and again, fighting for our resources and our tax dollars if I'm fortunate enough to serve.
Thank you. We'll now begin with the closing statements, and Anne, your closing statement will be first.
Thank you. Thank you to the League of Women Voters of the Hamptons, Shelter Island, and North Fork for this opportunity. And thank you also to Mr. Soto. Thank you for the civility and for the ability to have a good conversation around these many important questions that were brought up today. It's lovely. I'd like to encourage everyone to remember that early voting begins October 25th and continues through November 2nd, and then to remind everyone to vote either during early voting or on Election Day, November 4th. I would be deeply honored to continue to serve as your Suffolk County legislator. I would ask for your vote on Election Day or during early voting. The opportunities abound for government to make critically important decisions that help all of us that are residents of Suffolk County, and I'd like to continue to be part of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Raheem.
Yes, thank you. Well, again, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank the viewers first and foremost, and I want to thank my family because they put up with me doing this stuff. So thank you to my family. I want to thank the League of Women Voters for taking the time to do this. Thank you guys for hosting this debate, and I also want to thank Legislator Welker for her civility and the decency that we've shown. I think other candidates and other races should take note of how we've conducted ourselves during the duration of this campaign and seek to do the same thing. I'm not a big fan of divisive rhetoric. We all have to live in this community together. I have great relationships in the county legislature. If I'm fortunate enough to be your next legislator, I'll use those relationships that I've built over years of being involved to help fight for our resources to come back to the East End, because the bottom line is we contribute a heck of a lot more than we get back. And I think that's a conversation that I know that's a conversation that I'll continue to have and spread the word about. Again, I want to thank the League of Women Voters. I want to thank everyone that took the time to tune in. Again, like she said, early voting, make sure you get out and vote. I also want to thank the slate that I'm a part of. We have some wonderful candidates on the slate. It's an honor to be a part of this slate. And it's an honor to live and be on the East End of Suffolk County. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I would like to thank both candidates for their informative and thought-provoking responses, and to thank all of those viewing for joining us. Most importantly, don't forget to vote. You may vote at the usual voting site on November 4th, Election Day, or at an early voting site from October 25th through November 2nd. And the early voting sites and the hours when they'll be open may be found at the Suffolk County Board of Elections website. So thank you, and don't forget to vote. Good night.
Good night. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you all. Be well. Thank you.